Hello again, you sick, twisted weather freaks, and welcome to another fun-filled, action-packed, and intellectually stimulating edition of This Week in Weather. I'm your host and meteorologist, DT from Weather Risk, your captain of chaos, your colonel of confusion, your commander of catastrophe. Let's talk about this week in weather. February 27, 28, here coming at the end of meteorological winter. And we've got a couple of nice points to talk about here. First, like I said on the newsletter, the winter is coming to an end here in the eastern U.S., and no doubt about that. We'll see the heart of the winter 24, 25 in the eastern U.S. is over pretty much after March 9th. Now, when I'm saying that doesn't mean we're not going to have cold days. Of course, there's going to be cold days March 9th to April 15th, and maybe even some snow in the mountains, the eastern U.S. But the fact is we have major changes going on across North America. The mean trough shifts to the west coast, the western U.S., southwest Canada, the Rockies, a big ridge in the east, and the MJO is going into phases 3, 4, and 5. So that's why I think the heart of the winter is pretty much over in the eastern U.S. Now here's the website in case you haven't seen it. I'm sure most of you probably have. And of course, here at the shop page, you can get access to our grain weather products, the newsletter, 3-week newsletter, the Mid-Atlantic forecast, snow removal, and what have you. This here is the Weather Risk Grains Twitter page, and this is the one on Blue Sky for operational forecasting. And of course, right here, you can see the newsletter. Now, this is what I posted on the Facebook page on Tuesday. The newsletter usually comes out on Monday. And you can see the different products I was talking about, why I think the winter is pretty much over with. So, oops, get rid of that here. That's not what I want to put. And you can see the different points here. Polar vortex retreated far to the north. We'll see that in just a second. The Pacific jet's taken over. And we've had a very nice mild period here in most of the eastern U.S., especially south of Interstate 80. March 1st and 2nd, we're going to have this cold front coming through. Then we have this big Midwest low on March 4 or 5. Going to bring a severe weather outbreak, it looks like, to the Mississippi River Valley, maybe the Ohio Valley, the Tennessee Valley. A lot of rain with this, much needed rain in the Midwest. Then there's a second low, which is going to be a southern low, which may move off the coast and become a nor'easter, or it may go out to sea, and there's a pattern change coming up by March 10th. So we'll get to all that. So first, we'll start out taking a look at the latest teleconnections here. And this is the MJO, and there it is right now. You can see it on February 26th, 27th. It is in phase 1. And this is the track where it has been over the last 45 days. So this is when we had that shot of winter in February 7th, phase 7, 8, and then 1's been going back and forth here for a while. But now it's on the move, and it's going to get to phase 2 and to phase 1 and phase 3 over the next few days. So that's important because, of course, that signals the beginning of the pattern change. And the pattern change is coming. There's no doubt about that. So, in fact, if we take a look at the updated versions of the MJO, you'll see that this is the GFS and the CFS models. And you can see that I did it again. Sorry about that. I keep posting the wrong thing here. One post an arrow. There we go. There's the GFS, and as you can see, it's going. So this is the next 2 weeks into phase 1 and phase 2, and it looks like it wants to go into phase 3. And here's the CFS. This is more extended. Again, there it is in phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. Now, by the time it gets to 3 and 4, it's close to the neutral circle. But again, this is regression to the mean. It's always going to tend towards the circle as you go further out in time. So there's a lot of reason to think it's going to go into phase 3 and 4. And of course, those are much wetter patterns. Let me show you what I mean here. Now, this is the MJO 500 millibar patterns for neutral conditions, because we are probably no longer in La Nina. But you can see here, this is for phase 1 in March. And here's your block right now. We have a lot of blocking up high latitude. Then you have this big upper low in southeastern Canada, this broad trough across the southern states. And that's pretty much what the pattern looks like right now. We'll see that in just a second. When we go into phase 2, what happens is the blocking goes away, and we get this upper low here moves into Greenland. So the NEO goes positive. The Arctic Oscillation goes positive. You get this big giant trough crashing in the energy. So the PNA goes negative. It's just all around bad pattern. A nice active trough in the Midwest. The Plain States, very wet pattern here. And then this is phase 3. And here, what happens is we have the vortexes now strongly in eastern Canada, Greenland. This is a big trough in eastern Canada. You have a ridge in the southeastern states, one in the eastern Pacific. and your pattern is taking storms from California up towards the Great Lakes. And that's not a good pattern if you like snow and cold late in the season for the eastern U.S. That's great for the Midwest, but it's everybody east of the Appalachians. This is really, really shitty. So that's what it's looking like. Now, if we look at our teleconnections, we see more problems here. Okay, so in North America, we have 4 teleconnections. And just to review, teleconnections are significant relationships or links between weather phenomena at widely separated locations. And they typically involve, a lot of climate patterns that can span several thousand miles. So there are a lot of different types of teleconnections. One of them is, of course, the MJO, El Nino, La Nina. Those are teleconnections. The movement of the polar vortex, that's a teleconnection. But here in North America, we have 4 of them, 2 in the Pacific and 2 in the Atlantic. We have the EPO, which is the Eastern Pacific Oscillation. That can be in negative or positive. We have the PNA. It can be either positive or negative. We have the Arctic Oscillation on the Atlantic side. Again, that can either be positive or negative. And the NAO, North American Oscillation, or the Greenland Block or Greenland Low. So those are the 4. So we look at our teleconnection charts. What we see here is that the Arctic Oscillation, it has been positive. You can see the black dots. Now it's around neutral. But most of the models, these are all different models up here, take its keep it weekly positive, and then steadily increase its positive values to about 1, 1.5 on the scale here by the time we get to the middle of March. Now the NAO, which has recently been positive, it's dipped down towards almost neutral, and now look what it does. This is oscillations, positive, near neutral, then positive again, but for the most part, it's staying positive. And of course, when the NAO is positive, it favors above normal temperatures in the eastern U.S., but below normal in the Midwest and the plains. And East Coast lows, when they do form, have a tendency of tracking well inland. That's also true when the AO is positive as well. Okay, now on the Pacific side, that is to say, here on the Pacific side, we'll look at those teleconnections. And here's the Eastern Pacific Oscillation, the Alaskan Ridge or Trough. And you can see the black dots show it's generally been positive. Now it's dipped down towards neutral, and then most of the models have it going either positive, neutral, or positive. As you can see, generally a positive trend here. And when that happens, it favors either near normal or above normal temperatures in the central and eastern U.S., but below normal on the East Coast, on the West Coast with the Rockies and the Pacific Northwest. And then the PNA pattern, you can see the same thing. This is your West Coast ridge or trough. When it's in the positive, you have a ridge. When it's in the negative, a trough. You can see what's going on here. It's generally been positive. Now it's going towards neutral, and then after March 10th, it goes strongly negative. And that favors the mean trough being on the West Coast and the Rockies, and a ridge on the eastern U.S., which favors above normal temperatures and pushes the storm track well to the north. So none of these teleconnections here, none of them are favorable at all for any kind of late season winter surge. All right, here's our current upper air map. This is as of Wednesday, February 26th. Yesterday, you can see the vortex. Look where the vortex is shaped. Let me blow this up a little bit so you can see it a little more clearly here. You see the vortex, it's shaped in the shape of a football right here. And whenever the vortex is shaped like this, it means that all the cold air is wrapped up in here. You get very little ridging on the West Coast, and as a result, it's nothing but Pacific mild air that just comes right in, because the vortex is not oriented north to south, it's oriented west to east. So there's our block, okay? So if we go back to this pattern here, sure enough, that is pretty much what we're looking at. That's the phase 1 of the MJO. So let's look at that and back to here. There's your block, there's your vortex, right? Very, very much the same kind of pattern. So now what's going to happen is this trough, there's a little disturbance here which is coming through now. That's the weak cold front. And then this major trough is going to come in for the weekend, and that's going to be a big deal. So there's our surface map. You can see it with the front now moving through the East Coast with the rain showers we've had. Not a big deal, but it has ended the 70 degrees, the 60s for everybody on the East Coast for a while. Okay. Now, as we go into the weekend, a trough is very strong here on the East Coast. It amplifies very nicely, all right? But we have this additional energy coming in behind it. So this trough will bring a cold blast of seasonal air for early March to the East Coast. But notice that the polar vortex is now in Greenland, so the NAO is now strongly positive. And this ridge is really not very amplified. So this is mostly mild Pacific air. This air is not coming out of northern Canada or the Arctic at all. So these two features are eventually going to get together to have a party over the Midwest here in a couple of days. So there's the cold front coming through on Saturday. Pretty strong winds behind it, a lot of cold air. It's a decent shot of cold air. Not extreme, but seasonal. Okay, and to show you how cold it is, especially north. Now, once you go north of Interstate 80, it's very cold, but it doesn't last. Let me show you. These are 850 temperatures for Sunday morning, and you can see it minus 20. You know, these are values could produce. This is going to produce sub-zero readings if there's snow on the ground, single digits if there's none, and even 850 temperatures of minus 11 and 12 in Richmond, minus 13 in central Kentucky, minus 12 in Indianapolis. It's pretty impressive cold here. But it doesn't last. It comes in, then it's gone. Comes in, then it's gone. And let me show you why. Because on March 4, now this is March 2nd. So the cold air slides east on March 3rd. Then this milder air begins to move eastward. So that by March 4, you have this massive trough in the eastern United States. The ridge is formed on the east coast. The vortex is in Greenland. Okay, and this is all mild Pacific air coming eastward. All the cold air is blocked up to the north. So temperatures really warm up ahead of the system. Now, this is going to become a huge storm. It'll develop a negative tilt, major rainstorm for the Ohio Valley, for the Great Lakes, for the Tennessee Valley. Eventually, the rain will come to the East Coast and the southeastern states late on March 5. And a lot of rain, too. There could be severe weather with this system. This has the potential to bring an early season, a severe weather outbreak, tornadoes, massive thunderstorms, lightning, that's what they hail, the whole thing, into the Mississippi Delta region in particular, I think. At the surface, this is what it looks like. The system gets cranking. Okay, there it is now, Wednesday morning near Chicago. Blizzard in northwest Iowa, southeast Minnesota, Wisconsin. There's the cold front here. The cold air is coming in behind it, but it's going to take a while to catch up. And the mild air is surging ahead of it. This is a pretty strong front. It's going to bring a lot of rain, thunderstorms when it comes through. And then behind it, we get strong north winds. This is not that cold air. I mean, it's kind of cold, but it's nothing to write home to mom about. And this is March 6th. The front is way off the coast by that point. Now, the winds are pretty strong behind it from North Carolina to New York State. But it doesn't only last for a day or two. And then that's gone. Right? So now this here is March 8th or 9th. So let me blow this up our air map so you can see this a little bit. All right. So there's your big vortex here. And then you have this nice trough. Now you have a bit of a ridge in the Rockies, so you're getting some cold air flow into here, but it's not a lot. Now this trough is going to develop the next system. Now some people have speculated that this next system from March 8th or 9th, including me when I talked about it on the newsletter, I said that could be a system here, second low, North Carolina and Virginia, around March 8th, 7th or 8th or 9th. So yes, that is a definite possibility. And you can see it developing here. Now this is, let me shrink this upper map a little bit. This is March 8th, Saturday, and then it moves off the North Carolina coast. Now, of course, if it comes further north, then the issue is there any cold air? Now right now it does this track, it slides off the coast, but if it comes further north up the coast, and this is the European, so it could shift to the north, is there any cold air? Well, the problem is there isn't. So even if this comes close to the coast, there's just not enough cold air. Let me show you what I mean. This is Saturday morning, 8:50 temperatures at 1 p.m. Excuse me, Saturday 1 p.m., not Saturday morning, March 8th. All right, so this difference between the grayish and the purple, that's the 0 degree 850 isotherm. Everything north of this line here is snow, snow, snow. Everything east of it's rain. So DC is +1, Charlottesville +2, Richmond's +2, Roanoke is +3, and this line is moving north. The storm is just pulling the warm air up. There's no cold hide to the north, so all this warm air is going to surge north. And then finally, here's the 850 temperatures, and you can see, the 925 temperatures. This is 2,500 feet above the ground. Look how warm it is here. I mean, +5 in DC, +6 in New York. So even if it's cold enough here at 2,500 feet, it's way too warm for any kind of frozen precipitation. So this is all rain. So don't get worked up over it. Even if it comes further north, this is a rainstorm, folks. A much needed rainstorm, but it's a rainstorm. All right. And then finally, on the second to last image here, this 11 to 15 day, March 11 to 14, look at the trough here that develops. This is the European March 11th, massive trough here, big ridge in the eastern United States. This is the end of winter for the eastern U.S. That's what this is. GFS is showing the same thing. Again, yes, it will get cold in late March, and there could be snow in northern New England, the Great Lakes, or the central Appalachians at the higher elevations. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about prolonged winter weather. Okay? Having a cold day in late March or April is not winter. It's called spring. That's normal. We're talking about a prolonged, sustained winter weather patterns like we saw in January and February. Done. It's over. Okay? That's what I'm saying. All right? Okay. So there you go. And to show you what those temperatures look like here. Okay, AFC temperatures. If you want to look at the operational maps, you can take a look at the operational temperatures. A lot of areas south of Interstate 80 on March 13th to 14th are forecasted to be up into the 70s and 80s along the deep south. So, like I said, and that this pattern is just developing. And as we go into the different phases of the MJO, okay, and all the other teleconnections being like this, it's a mild pattern. It's done in the eastern United States. All right. That's the video. Hope you enjoyed it. This is meteorologist DT from Weather Risk. I will see you next week on This Week in Weather. I'll see you over on the Weather Risk Blue Sky page, the Facebook page, and the website.